scene. You know she gonna burn down everything. She an arsonist in her pastime, and I've been burned for the last time.
Coming to you from the University of Minnesota, Rochester,
I've been burned for
our town.
time. Whoa. I've been burned for the last time.
Ah, the miracle of life. As some of you might remember, this time last year, I was approaching the final countdown to the birth of my daughter, complete with all of the excitement and anxiety of any soon-to-be mom. We're joined today by two women whose job it is to help get expecting moms and their partners through the epic life event that is childbirth and pregnancy. Welcome to our town.
Thank you.
So you are doulas, which I'm very familiar about what that word means. Can you tell us a little bit about what the word doula means? What's the history of it?
Yeah. So a doula is a trained professional who supports families through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. So just like you said, that transitional phase, we offer that social support.
It's not a new thing. Doulas have been around
Centuries.
for centuries.
Forever, yeah.
People have been giving birth, really.
Yeah.
Do you think there's been a change in how we're using doulas in modern times?
I think the support is becoming more normalized, and women who are having hospital births and medicated and cesarean births are starting to look for that social support. I think that's maybe the biggest change we're seeing.
Great. What kind of services do you provide?
Yeah, so we offer childbirth education, so helping families get ready to enter the birthing experience. We offer birth support, so we're there during the birth itself, and then we also offer postpartum services. So that's in-home care after baby arrives.
And a lot of people don't think about postpartum care. They sort of think about that first
Yeah.
pregnancy and the actual childbirth, and then postpartum stuff. What do you all do to help people in those months after the babies come?
So
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, everything. It's really personalized for what that family needs, and we can do a postpartum planning session prenatally to assess what resources and support they have already, and we fill in those gaps. So just like a doula fills in the gaps through pregnancy and birth, a doula can come in and fill in the gaps that you may have in your social circle. You'll hear it takes a village, and sometimes modern parents need to build their village, and that's what we're here for.
And sometimes that looks like laundry or holding a baby or helping them find a sleep solution or cooking or those kind of things.
I love Call the Midwife, and that sounds like some of the things that those midwives used to do.
Yeah.
So in terms of, we often think about childbirth, and the focus is a lot on obviously moms or the gestational partners. What about the partners that are not carrying the baby? How do you support them?
Oh yeah, we'll never replace the birthing person's partner. We're there to support them too. So if that's coaching them on ways they can physically support their partner or offering them emotional support as well. Childbirth can be a stressful event, and maybe not seeing your partner go through something like that can be really difficult. So we'll never step on toes or replace a partner. We're there to support the family unit as a whole.
And sometimes it looks like during birth, reminding the partner to like massage mom's head while she's in the tub, and partners are like, "Oh,
Good idea.
yeah, thanks." And mom's like, "Oh, that was the best part." And it's like, yeah. And other times it's just reassuring that everything that's going on is normal, or if it's not normal, that they're okay and that they're supported, and getting them through that.
So you have a business. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got the business started? What inspired you?
Yeah. So I've actually been a doula for about 10 years. I started because I wanted to see families have a positive experience, regardless of what happens. Like being supported, it's an experience that you're going to remember forever. And so making sure that whatever happens through that process, that you're well supported and it's a positive experience. So I started that. Brittany actually hired me as her doula, and saw that there were some gaps in care.
Like, you've never gone on vacation in 10 years? That's not a sustainable way to live. And I was working in print production at the time, and I was just like, Amanda, I'm super passionate about this. I'm going to take a doula training. I took a training while I was still pregnant for postpartum support, and we kind of just spearheaded this with a passion for women who want to do the work, as well as a passion for improving medical care and families and community.
And to that point of improving medical care, what are some of the benefits of having a doula with you during this process?
Yeah, so that continuous support, actually, there are studies coming out of the U of M even that talk about continuous support and reducing disparities, and also helping improve ABCAR scores for newborns. And
There's also some research that shows that the support of a doula can reduce the risk of a cesarean birth, if that's but we support cesarean birth too.
Sure.
So that continuous support is really what is making the experience more positive, regardless of the outcome of the birth. Yeah.
Great. And that's super important because actually, unfortunately, the U.S. is having kind of a higher maternal mortality rate compared to its developed peers. That number goes even higher in communities of color. How can people get connected to your services, so that we can fix the health disparities?
Yeah. So they can inquire right through our website, and we'll get connected with them, and we can meet and have a consultation and talk about their goals and desires for the whole experience.
Well, thank you both for joining us, and good luck this baby birthing season.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our Town is brought to you in part by the following amazing people and organizations.
The Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
And the members of KSMQ Public Television. Thank you.
I know firsthand that new moms can use all the help they can get. Such a great conversation. You'll want to stick around for more great stories. We look into what life is like when you live right downtown. We learn about an accomplished musician from Rochester's past. And we talk about changing our thinking about disabilities and limits with Dee Sable from the Diversity Council. And I get to visit with the amazingly talented Ethan Bortnick. Up next, we find out how a lifetime of stories turned into a book in this week's Art Culture segment.
We're driving through Preston right now. We're going north on US 52. We'll be heading toward Fountain and then Chatfield. How many times have I been on this road? Hundreds, certainly in the hundreds. Thousands, maybe, 40 years. It'd be several hundred for sure. Maybe it might even hit the 4 figures, I don't know. John Weiss, I worked for the Rochester Post-Bulletin from November of '75 until technically retiring at the end of September 2016. And they said, hey, do you want to become the outdoor writer? And I went, yeah! I wanted it. And so I've been the outdoor writer. And since I was the outdoor writer, I was out in the boonies, I started covering the region. And in fact, I worked for the Rochester Post-Bulletin. I didn't know much about Rochester. I rarely did a story on Rochester. But I was out here in Preston, Lanesboro, Wabasha, for hunting, fishing, my stories, stuff like that. And so I suggested we start a column, and I said, well, I drive around the back roads a lot, let's call it Back Roads. For years, I'd be driving around, and I'd see these just neat little stories. Like what happened, I came here, they don't have it now, but for years they had what they called the world's tiniest restroom. You would go in, it was really dinky, and they made a joke out of it. And in fact, they even said, they had a little crowbar in there. If you're stuck, here's a crowbar. And people would go out, and they'd come in for the first time, they say, where's the restroom? They go in, and everybody would kind of wait. People would come out laughing. I went, boy, that's a neat story, but what do you do with it? Just west of Elgin on Wabasha 25, there was a woman who always had this big flock of pink plastic flamingos out. Big hats, big sunglasses, just really funny. I went, there's a story there. There's got to be a story there. But these people were interesting to me just because they were interesting. And that's how it started, just my mind wandering around. And I was driving going, there's a good little story. I love these little stories. I don't like interviewing famous people because they're too good at being interviewed. And they know how to direct an interview, and I like people who've never been interviewed. A woman at the Driftless bookstore in Wabasha, I was just there getting a book signing, and she said, John's stories are authentic. And I think that's probably the best word, because I've also used, these people are not common, they're not ordinary to me. They're extraordinary because they do what we might call simple things. They do them with humor, or they do them well, or do something. They help their community, and I thought these people deserved a little ink, and I just loved writing about it. Years ago, I listened to music all the time. When I drive now, I rarely listen to music. I like the silence. It's a nice time just to sit, and then I walk and look, and I watch and look around, and I like seeing what's going on and stuff like that. I'm still looking for columns, even though I don't write them anymore. It's become instinctive that I still see them, so you can't get it out of your system.
For more information about this story and other Our Town features, connect with us on Facebook, Twitter at KSMQ #OurTown, or ksmq.org/ourtown.
Ethan Bortnick is an amazing musical talent, and guess what? He's coming to Austin, Minnesota on Friday, September 28th, in partnership with KSMQ Public Television. I am so happy to get a chance to speak to him, and welcome to Our Town, Ethan.
Thank you so much. I can't wait.
So you've been playing music since you were so young. You've had this talent all your life. What keeps you passionate about the music?
Oh my God, that's actually a really good question. I mean, honestly, ever since I can remember, I've just absolutely loved to play and make music and perform. But truly, what I think makes me just more excited to do this and make music and continue to tour and perform and all of this is honestly meeting the people that get to come out to the shows. For me, I think the best part about this and what drives me every day is probably the fact that I can do so much good with what I have, and also, of course, be able to see everybody just having a blast in the audience and smiling and just having a great time.
Well, I definitely feel that passion coming through. You are also really passionate about charities and doing a lot of humanitarian work. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the work you've been doing recently?
Sure. So recently what I've kind of been focusing on is trying to focus on music and arts and trying to sort of spread the word through schools and just the entire country in general, because I think it's important that people have that option, because music and arts opens so many options and so many areas in your brain that nothing else can do. So when you see music and arts being cut from schools, it's kind of upsetting.
So one of the new songs that hopefully you'll be able to play for us today is "Be Who You Are." Is there a story behind that song?
Definitely. I think that in sort of being a high schooler, I have sort of this perspective of seeing a lot what goes on in school, even though I'm not there that much, but being able to see what sort of kids my age go through, and I think that one of the most important things, and something that a lot of kids and adults actually struggle with, at least nowadays with the internet and social media and all of this, is finding their voice and trying to having that struggle between wanting to please everyone, but at the same time wanting to be themselves and know what's right in their heart. So at the end of the day, it's your life, and you get to decide what you want to do in the end.
Well, that's a message we can all benefit from. Can you play us the song? We'd love to hear it.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
So excited.
So you're feeling like another crack in the sidewalk. People keep stepping around you. The life is like another circus sideshow. Nobody wants to come to. Oh,
That was amazing. I think I need that today as my theme song. It's amazing. Tell us, so is this one of the songs you're going to be playing at the concert?
Absolutely. And I believe we're going to have a children's choir at the show, so that's going to be really fun. We're going to have everybody singing along. It's going to be so awesome. I can't wait.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to see you on September 28th in Austin.
Thank you so much. I can't wait.
Tickets are available for our audience members at ksmq.org, and I'm sure, as you can see from this little bit that we heard, it's going to be a fantastic show.
The energy that's here in Rochester it's world known. We're the destination medical center, and this town is full of medical professionals, and we're all so compassionate. We care so much, and we give and we give. And so the vibe is that we all care, and we're, you know, Minnesota nice on steroids, honestly. And so the richness is in the people.
So I've lived downtown for about 2 years, and I gotta say, I love it. I love living downtown. It's right in the thick of everything that's going on here. Lots of restaurants downtown, lots of entertainment, new folks from for the clinic, for business that are always downtown. So you get to know a new face every day.
I feel safe down here. I think if I was in a home somewhere, I may tend to be a little bit more reclusive. I would feel a little bit more alone. And the irony is that although I'm a very private person, I do love the feeling of family. There's usually somebody else in the elevator or somebody coming in who'll say hi and ask how your day went. So even though you're single, you still feel like you're part of a family.
I'm Charlie Applequist. I do get a lot of energy living downtown because I'm all over town, and I'm like, I go to the library, I go on the bus, you know, and I see different people that I've always seen. And you know, you get to know other people downtown that you might not get to see every day.
You know, we have everything that we need, and then some. So, yeah, don't tell anyone, because this is a special place on the planet Earth.
How do we build relationships with people that are differently abled? Our next guest hopes we can find sustainable answers to that question together. Stay tuned.
Our past, remembering what made us who we are today. Brought to you by the History Center of Olmsted County.
Agnes Aggie Hogan arrived in Rochester in 1894 at age 13 with her widowed mother Adelaide and foster sister Ella Graff. Aggie had both eyes removed at Mayo Clinic and enrolled in the Minnesota School for the Blind in Faribault at age 17. In 1900, Aggie was selected to represent the Goddess of Liberty in Rochester's 4th of July parade. She rode in an impressive carriage, and a newspaper described how her long, fair hair made a splendid representation of the goddess. After graduation, she taught music from 1910 to 1935 and composed a variety of patriotic and religious music. One of her most celebrated compositions was titled Star of the East and was created for the Rochester Methodist Episcopal Church's 1918 Christmas cantata. The piece included 140 song and speaking parts. A newspaper reviewer declared Aggie one of the most talented musicians of the community. After Adelaide's death in 1932, Aggie continued to live with Ella at their family home until she died on October 28, 1955.
Dee Sable, Executive Director of the Diversity Council, joins us today to tell us about efforts to foster a community-wide conversation and action around disability. Welcome to our town.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So we're here to talk about disability. You have a community conversation coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So this is a conversation really hosted by the Region 10 Quality Council, which is one of 3 state councils established to look at quality of life for individuals who are differently abled. I'm the vice chair of the council, and so I'm also thrilled to have that partnership with the Diversity Council. We really hope to talk to individuals throughout community who may not have any interaction with individuals with disabilities, to really help to start a dialogue about how do we think and talk differently about providing natural supports to individuals who live with different abilities.
And what would some of those supports look like?
So if you think about the things that individuals need, and you just created a wonderful list that you talked about, so supports into employment, supports into civic engagement, recreation, job seeking, searching for, even the simplest things, food, transportation, other things. We do have in our society formal, supports that people are able to use. So, getting connected with an agency, but agencies are really struggling. First, to find individuals to deliver services, and secondly, to fund those services. So what can we do as individuals to support others outside of formal systems?
This is sort of everyday people.
Exactly.
Creating sort of community culture around supporting persons with disabilities.
Yes, and integrating and bringing them in to conversation and to every aspect of community life.
Can you give us an example of something that might happen, that someone could do?
Sure, certainly. So, if you think about going to the library, let's say that you make regular trips to the library, is there someone you can connect with who might struggle just with getting to the public library? And create a way to support them, transport them, move materials for them, some way to connect them better with public library services, a simple thing, or shopping, or going to a religious service, anything that you might be doing. Is there a way for you to think differently about involving someone else, inviting someone else, supporting someone else's needs that might be very similar?
We often talk about workforce development because it's a big thing and it's something
Yeah.
that is on our minds as a community. What do you think are some of the maybe out-of-the-box ways of thinking about including persons with disabilities within the workforce?
Sure. One of the most creative things that employers can do is something called job carving. And that's saying, yeah, we have jobs and we have, and so if we look at our jobs and look at someone who might be differently abled, it's not a good fit. But how do you carve out some elements of a job that are a good fit for someone who's differently abled, physically or developmentally? And then recreate your workflow so that that person can come in and provide those services, work with you through that lens, and you redistribute work. It's a creative thing. It's something that catches employers off guard, but it's really important.
So we use different terminology, persons with disabilities, and there's a lot of definitions, both official and formally, and sort of unofficial around what it means to be a person with a disability. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe how you define it and help our audience maybe understand what that might mean?
Yeah. I think the other thing that scares people, right, is trying to accommodate someone who's different. And so we like people to think differently about that, because if you are an employer who's unsighted and you hire a couple of people who are seeing, then for them, you're creating an accommodation for them just by providing lights, right? It's not something you need, but it's something that they need. So we all have different needs that we take with us, and we hope that people will think differently about assets, the assets that individuals provide in all different ways, and then how do we think differently about accommodating, right? Or what that really means.
Sure. What is the ultimate goal of this community conversation?
We are really looking for input from the greater community, right? The community outside, kind of the realm of disability where we are functioning, about what don't we know about how people might connect better in community? What don't individuals out in community know about barriers to participation? How do we start to have that conversation so that we can inform the work that we're doing in community and increase quality of life for individuals?
And part of that changing the community too involves changing systems and institutions. So I believe that the Diversity Council and perhaps this council as well is doing some work with law enforcement.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So one of the most important things that's happening nationally around law enforcement, and is definitely happening in our own community, particularly through the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office, is trying to take a different understanding out when law enforcement is responding. So first responders are developing ways so that they can take a mental health professional or someone who's really versed in dealing with individuals with disabilities, out with them initially on calls to change that trajectory and the outcome of the call for that individual to have better outcomes. Critically important. So, training at law enforcement level is as important as training at community level.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Dee, for
Sure.
joining us. And I hope you'll join the community conversation on September 5th. And thank you for joining us from the University of Minnesota Rochester. We'll see you next time.
Come on, everybody sing.